recording? I hope so. I hope so because no way. Okay. Hello, hello. Okay. Cool. My mic might just peak. Things are just gonna be a little louder. Come on. I've been having a fucking time right now. Sorry. Sorry for the profanity. Sorry for the profanity. No way. What the fuck? I'm sorry. Literally, it's like clockwork with my cats. Uh, I get on the stream and they start shitting and they start meowing and they start harassing me to do things that I've already done. Like, for instance, I feed them and then they start meowing. And then I turn on the stream, they start meowing. And then they'll come into my room and shit and piss everywhere. It's insane. I've been stressed out. I apologize for not streaming daily. If you understand, if you have pets, man, just a toxic pet is not a good pet. And I have 5 of them. 5 fucking pets. Oh man. Let me tell you, man, it's the worst freaking thing, man. I wish they could just like, I don't know, they're bipolar or some shit. I don't know, man. They're cats. They're cats. I never had cats before, and I've only had one cat, and she was a feral cat, Sylvanas. But she's a good cat. She's a good cat, and I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. But welcome to the stream. We're gonna hang out. Sorry, I'm just venting out here. But yeah, welcome all to the show. Thank you all so much for patiently waiting here because I did send out a notification. I don't know, my Twitter is the scheduling post just doesn't work. Yeah. Not the contemporary stream today. We're gonna be chilling with Trey Smith, some philosophy. If you guys are into philosophy, we're gonna get into that. Goes from I think it's theorizing on future events and how things are just correlating with like religion, government, things that are just happening around globally. And I don't know, I got this thing here, fam. I got this thing where sometimes some people, and I don't judge anyone. I don't judge anybody for who they are, what they do, you know unless you're a fucking asshole, you know what I mean. I'm gonna judge you straight up and condemn you. I'm just kidding. No. But yeah, there are some individuals out, in society, in life, and that experience certain things. You know what I mean? They experience certain things that are just like beyond what anybody can fathom. You know what I mean? It's just, you hear these stories and you're just like, what is it? How is this possible? How's how's this person able to understand this, or how did they get this information without really actually putting the legwork in. Let me just clarify this. There are certain individuals out there that do get this unforeseen knowledge, and to me, that is, I I don't know. Sometimes it happens to me, and it did happen to me, and I literally, I thought I was going batshit, you know. And honestly, I didn't realize what was happening with me. I said, "Holy, I'm just totally just out there, man. Totally out there." But uh, I got the hang of it. You know what I mean? I put the puzzle together, uh, and I found a way out. I found a way out of this. It's kind of like a weird rut, fam. Not to scare him. Oh my God, there goes the cat. Come on, Jesus, Jesus. Anyway, what I'm trying to correlate here, fam, is that these individuals, they'll get certain messages, or they can read something, and they'll they'll have this newfound knowledge that, you know it could be we could all be oblivious to it. The normal, you know pupil, I would say, if you're a scholar, or anybody that just might be interested in knowledge and stuff. Uh we might not see it. We might not see it. That everyday common person might just be, oblivious to certain signs, certain messages. And you know I myself, I got certain messages, certain information, certain knowledge, uh through dreaming. I know, uh pretty intense. I know. I'm just kind of just shedding some light here. I'm opening up as to what exactly uh, I'm trying to convey here. So I am one of them. And a lot of my friends, they kind of don't understand how this happened, and how it correlates to what is happening around them. And now that I put the puzzle together, uh, they are now a little bit more aware that, yes, this is proof. I am a living, walking vessel. I'm a fucking proof. I am proof that these individuals exist. I know, incredible story, and it's getting longer. So if you're a journalist out there, if you're an author, looking to get a cool, awesome story, hey man, hook me up, call me up, DM me, whatever it is. If you want a cool story, man, I'm gonna lace you up with an awesome story, and we can possibly just make some pretty good bank. So, if you're an author, journalist, hey, contact me, and we can get together. We can work on something really, really special. But yes, let me just put it all together. Like I mentioned, we're gonna be checking out some videos here. We're gonna start off with some Trey Smith here, and he's doing a 2024 prediction video. And we're also gonna be looking at some crazy, crazy TikTok videos here, and we're gonna react to them further later. If anything, we're gonna watch some anime while I level here. So once again, shout out to my awesome sponsor over here, Miss Casino Babe. I was gonna say Casino Blade. No, Casino Babe. For the awesome token sponsorship. Appreciate you. You're still number one on the leaderboard. Holy moly! Like I mentioned, I was supposed to be streaming, and I'm gonna deliver now. I'm gonna deliver. And yes, I've been playing every day. I've been playing some classic hardcore, and I've also been trying to grind my way into what is this? Lich King. Oh, and so yeah. Without any further ado, fam, let's get this whole shebang going. And welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all. You guys are absolutely amazing. Yes. Thank you so much. I know. What a crazy intro. But thank you all so much for being here. And if you are lurking, thank you. Let's get some Trey Smith here. Let's see. If you don't know who Trey Smith here, who he is, he's an awesome He's an awesome content creator, and he's a YouTuber, and he has some pretty awesome philosophy videos, fam. If you're into it, I'm into it. Um, from the he goes all out, from
I think it's time
the
to call
paranormal
this
to
thing.
extraterrestrials to mythology. He
Three,
covers it all, and that's the only reason why I'm gonna I like to present him to you guys. And he made this whole new video. Now, just FYI, fam, don't take anything verbatim. You might not be ready for this type of information, so just FYI, whatever you see on the video, whatever, it could possibly just be, coincidental. So don't mind if you are if something connects. If something connects, fam, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. If something connects, you might just be that person. You might just be that individual who's like, whoa, man. There's a whole epiphany here. Like I mentioned, we're gonna get right into it here and present my homie, uh, Mr. Trey Smith here with the 2024 prediction. He's very awesome, and I really enjoy his type of work here and what he does. Here he is. Here he is. There we go. Trey Smith. Let's make this bigger here, shall we? Trey Smith, man. This is the 2024 prediction. He looks pretty intense there, huh? Alright, so let's play this video.
This is called the 2024 prediction. And I'd like to, for this video, I'd like to do exactly that. Make some predictions for this entire year of 2024 and see how close that these are at the end of the year. I'm going to use a combination of charts like this one here on the back screen that I commonly use over at godinanutshell.com and in other videos that I've put together. You can see in the heart of it says extreme weather issues. This represents a calendar or a full year of odd events, heavy events,
to
concerns about terror, specifically in areas like New York, Chicago, but sprinkled throughout the United States in this year of 2024. Blackouts is a heavy worry, and also strange, odd concerns about things that go bump in the night, or more specifically, bump in the night skies.
I do believe
this is a shorter version of this film, 2024,
a little bit of continental
over on rumble.com or over at God in a Nutshell. An entire full-length and uncut version of this film is available. But I think we should begin by going straight over to the number 2024 itself. Now the number 24 that we have up here, number of high authority, back here on the screen I've got modern Hebrew. This is the Qaf, the symbol of the Qaf. In Hebrew we read from right to left. So our Qaf right here, the number 20, here he is. And then on this side we have the Dalet. That's the number 4 in Hebrew. 24 would be these symbols. Now, the number 24 up here, this is a number that's affiliated with judgment and severity. But also, strangely, it represents unity, this number 24. And I found that fascinating because in Matthew 24, which we're about to look at, as well as these prophecies that were given by Kim Clement and many, many other men, I tend to go to Kim's because there's a track record there that I can show you with those. I believe that the Lord put that man there to have these prophecies where you could have some comfort in some days that are judgment and severity that end in those prophecies with people coming together as one. Things get so rough in some means.
I believe we're going through a breakthrough here where
that's what that number is. 24 associated with judgment and severity, but also unity. The number 24 is associated, now watch this, it's associated with priesthood. That becomes important.
We're tired of it.
Since it's a multiple composed of 12. Just like there were 12 disciples of Jesus, 12 tribes of Israel. It's a double portion of 12. 24 is also connected with the worship of God, especially at Jerusalem's temple. Well, isn't that fascinating?
Interesting.
Israel, which is the focus of many of these prophecies, because Kim was also prophesying that a lot of focus would come on
Shit is
Israel,
just
and that
going down
nations
over
in this
there,
time, in this
so-
strange year he described, would put their focus on Israel. They would attempt to take over Israel, and they would attempt to split Israel and Jerusalem. Now, red heifers like this heifer seen behind me on the screen.
What does he mean?
Red heifers have been delivered to Israel. A red heifer would be a prerequisite for a sacrifice. A red heifer would be a prerequisite for installing or putting
This is
in
like some pagan
what
stuff.
the Hebrews or the Israelites have been waiting for several thousand years at this point. And that is the installation of the third temple. These are third temple coins that on Israel's 70th anniversary of being a nation, I went to Israel and people said these were a conspiracy theory. We don't sell them anymore. Maybe we will. Maybe I'll order some. Maybe I'll see if I can make arrangements and I can re-get the third temple coins. But they
Insane.
printed these unusual coins up in Israel at that time that had Donald Trump's face on them.
Oh,
There it
right.
is. I'll let it focus in just a second.
Oh no, man.
They had Donald Trump's face on them, and also had the face of King Cyrus. This is a replica
What
of
is happening
what's
here?
known as a Cyrus
Now, what is
seal. This would be a Cyrus cylinder seal, is what this would be called, this recreation that I've got right here in my hand. And this is King Cyrus. In the first year of King Cyrus, the king issued a decree concerning the temple of God in Jerusalem. Let the temple be rebuilt as a place to present sacrifices, and let its foundations be laid. Now, the reason the Hebrews or the Israelites would be comparing perhaps Donald Trump to King Cyrus, well, there are a variety of reasons. So King Cyrus took over Babylon. The people of Babylon were very oppressed by their political systems, particularly following the death of Nebuchadnezzar. A lot of corruption had come into
All right,
Babylon.
so if you're a
Nebuchadnezzar
historian,
was a very
you
tough
could
king.
possibly,
He was
you
the
know,
toughest king
some
that ever lived, breathed, walked,
digest
or
here,
ruled.
some digest.
Probably the face of the earth, but most definitely Babylon. When his son came along and took over, his son spread corruption through all of the empire. But it was King Cyrus, who boasted of taking empires without a fight, and the largest of these would of course be Babylon. Babylon was taken by stealth. While the spoiled rich kid king of Babylon,
We gotta go all the
Nebuchadnezzar's
way down
son,
there.
was literally getting drunk with all of his princes, and he had been putting all of these pressures on the back of the common citizen of Babylon, making the yokes on their necks heavy, as Cyrus would later describe it. He was getting drunk literally on the goblets of God. His father
Isn't
had
that,
kept all of
sacrilege
the Hebrew artifacts
That
sort
is,
of in a protective area. Nebuchadnezzar had. And when Nebuchadnezzar had died and his son took over, his son decided on one particular night to throw this really big party and have all of his top people together in one place. His father never would have done something this foolish.
No.
And all through the night, there were Persians from Cyrus that were crawling. They had lowered the moats around ancient Babylon. This is an artist's rendering of Babylon on the screen back here. And these are the moats that would have surrounded the very heart of Babylon. The Persians had diverted the moats in certain sections so that they could make stealth entrance towards the very heart of Babylon, where Belshazzar, the spoiled rich kid king of Babylon, was partying with all of his top princes. This was prophesied in advance in Isaiah 44. I find the numbers fascinating, as I always do. Isaiah 44, but not just Isaiah 44, the tail end of Isaiah 44. Last few verses of that chapter where Cyrus, where the Persians, literally the ownership of Babylon would be exchanged from the Babylonians to the Persians. Daniel, who had copies of Isaiah, was an advisor to both ancient Babylon in its top hours and ancient Persia in its top hours. That's an unusual career that Daniel had. Ending passages of Isaiah 44, when the empire would change hands. Daniel had copies of the book of Isaiah. That's why he knew exactly when King Cyrus would make entrance to Babylon and exactly how that would occur. And it reads this, verse 27, Isaiah 44, "Who says to the watery deep, be dry, and I will dry up your streams," just as the Persians would be making entrance through the moats of Babylon, working their way towards the very heart of that ancient empire. Who says of Cyrus, this is the first time his name appears in the text at the end of 44, "He is my shepherd, and I will accomplish all that I please. He will say of Jerusalem, let it be rebuilt, and of the temple, let its foundations be laid." Now, while the Persians were making their stealth entrance towards the very heart of Babylon, Belshazzar, our spoiled rich kid king here, was throwing his very large party. We can see in the imagery over here, he's got the imagery of the serpent. Serpent worship is one of the oldest forms of worship.
Speaking of
that
snake
and
people.
Baal worship. On this side, we have a menorah symbolizing the Hebrew artifacts that Belshazzar, that his father had left to the empire of Babylon, that his father had taken care of. Well, Belshazzar and his pagan feast to the serpent or Baal, he had decided to get out those artifacts, actual artifacts from the tabernacle or from the first temple of Israel in Jerusalem.
My
and he was
experience
getting
is,
drunk with
let me
those
just clarify,
goblets
have
of God, with all of
been
his princes.
more
And it
present
states in the
than
text
these
in
individuals
Daniel
have
that
been
a
around and trying to do
hand
things.
came out of thin air. This is where you get today the very famous term, the writing is on
the wall.
the wall. And Belshazzar was terrified and embarrassed before all of his friends with this writing that was on the wall. And he didn't know what to do, so he went and he ran, our pagan serpent worshiper. He went and ran to his mother, and he said, what should I do? A hand has come out of the wall and is written over here on the wall. And his mother said, well, when your father was alive, he would go to Daniel and ask him about such things. And so Belshazzar, before all of his hosts, had Daniel summoned. And when Daniel came forth and he appeared before all of the hosts of Belshazzar stood forth and he said, Daniel, I will cover you with all of my riches. I will burden your neck with silver and fine gold. I will even give you up to half of my empire. If you will just interpret for me this writing that is on the wall. And Daniel looked over at Belshazzar, and I'm paraphrasing here. But he said, you know, your father that I knew well, that was a real king. But you're nobody.
Maybe mistaken.
And I hate to tell you, this Belshazzar, you can keep your gold and all of your riches, but you don't have half an empire to give. But I will interpret for you the writing that is on the wall. It says you have been weighed and found wanting.
Ooh.
While Daniel was telling
for all these
Belshazzar
snake
this,
people.
the Persians were nearly to the heart of Babylon.
Let me tell you,
And by
fam,
morning,
half of,
in a
if not
single
all my
day, one day,
premonitions have
Babylon
happened.
would change
From
hands.
the wildfires
Babylon
to
was
earthquakes
conquered with such stealth.
to
There's rarely
eruptions
been anything like it in history.
to
It was
warfare.
conquered with such stealth that many of the
And,
citizens of Babylon did not know it had been conquered until far later. Isaiah 45. This is when Cyrus will come
explosions,
in and take
people-
control
the
of
people
Babylon.
yelling,
I want you to
uh,
notice the iron
also got
is on
that
the screen
vision.
behind me. The
That was
iron
January
is the
6th.
number 70,
yelling.
just like the Babylonian captivity
Yeah.
that would end in these passages was 70 years.
Most of my
The
premonitions
iron
have happened.
represents 70.
My messages
Now, it would be
that
Daniel
was
when
given to
Cyrus
me.
would actually make his royal entrance to
Dimensions
the
of
front gate of
premonitions
Babylon,
have happened.
now
So
becoming
these snake
Persia,
peoples can
it
eat
would
it.
be Daniel who
Their
would
little magic is
walk
not working.
down the stairs of the
Their little
largest
chants
empire
and
on earth
wanna be
and come and lay Isaiah's
whatever
scrolls
they do.
in
Seances.
Cyrus's hands.
They're not powerful.
These
There's
texts
no
of
power
this
there.
man, King Cyrus, whose cylinder seal that I'm holding in my hand right here, these texts of Isaiah that Daniel was handing to him were written between 120 years and 200 years before
That's a
him.
long time.
And they
That's
read
a long
this in
time.
Isaiah 45, Cyrus is above Babylon. This is what the Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus. That's got to be pretty impressive to see your name in a text written
Insane.
120 years before you were born and
That's
brought
insane.
and laid in your hands, explaining
crazy.
exactly verbatim how you would take the empire you just walked into. To Cyrus, whose right hand, the right hand is always the hand of power, I take hold of to
you have
subdue
it, fam.
nations. Before him do I strip kings of their armor and open doors before thee, just like the
Be good,
open
fam. Be good.
doors of Babylon.
Just like that.
I will break down the gates of bronze and cut through the bars of iron. I will give you hidden treasures, riches stored in the secret places. The cross came up behind me, so that you may know that I am the Lord, the God of Israel, who summons you, Cyrus,
I believe
by
the
your name. For the sake of Jacob, my
being
servant,
crucified was
and
a
Israel, my
punishment
chosen,
from
I summons you
Persian.
by name.
Roman Catholics have adopted.
So if you were wondering why some in Israel may compare
So
Donald
it's
Trump,
all
for
just
example,
equivalent.
to
It all makes sense.
King Cyrus, seen over here, well, that prophecy was given in Isaiah 45, and of course, Donald Trump was the 45th president of the
Interesting.
United
Huh.
States.
Kind of
I
just
summoned
like
you by name and bestow
paradigm.
on you a title of honor. These words
I don't know,
were to
this is me
Cyrus
just
from
kind of
Isaiah
theorizing.
45. I
Like,
know
we-
thee, though thou
we're in a,
hast not
time
known
lapse
me.
or time loop,
O Cyrus,
where it's just
you
layers over
are
layers over layers
my
of the
servant.
same cyclic.
I will raise you up in my righteousness.
You know how
I
they
will
say
make
that
all your ways
sometimes repeat.
straight.
It's
You
repeating.
will rebuild my city and set my exiles free. Cyrus would be credited thereafter with the building of the, not the building, but the ability to build the second temple. So one might wonder, what does the number 45 mean? Well, in the book of Daniel, Daniel prophesies about, and this is an end time events, about a painful wait of 45 days, declaring a blissful time frame that will be birthed after on the other side of it. So 45 days, then a wait, then bliss, 45 in the book of Daniel, amongst other meanings. 45 has
Can you imagine,
some fairly good
fam?
meanings.
Can you imagine being on the wrong
But what
side
if we
of
looked
things?
at, not the
Like,
least of which, 4,
literally
and then
doing
the
the
number
wrong
5,
things.
so just like 4 letters, Yod, He, Vav,
And all this
He.
is just written
If I
saying
look over
that,
here, the number
hey,
5, well, 5 is always the number of grace, 45.
this is gonna happen.
Well, what would 46 be? 46 has
I'm just
a,
laughing
has a
at
jumbled
people that have
meaning,
done
and
the
I
wrong
spent some
things.
time on this, and I found it kind of interesting. It had confusing meanings. 46 almost stands as like a placeholder where something else should be, like a mediator between 45 and 47, because both of those have heavy meanings. 46 is only actually used one time. It has a very jumbled, unclear, sort of a placeholder, a missing or unused type of a meaning. Now, what I did find is that in gematria, numerically, its value, the Hebrew word haya, or the beast, can be derived in conjunction with this number 46, this empty,
Not too familiar
jumbled
with that.
placeholder. And of course, it contains the number 6, which would be the Vav, which is right there on the screen, the number 6, or the number of man, our empty placeholder. But what if we were to go from 45, the number of grace, over to 47, where we now have a great big 7 as the ending number. So we've gone from a 45, 4, and a number of grace, to a 4, an empty placeholder, like a Joe Biden kind of jumbling sort of thing, which is interesting because this number 46, which some actually affiliate with the exact term temple of, meaning temple of, and then whatever you want to put. Temple of God, temple of Baal, temple to an unknown God. There's some that affiliate that term, temple of, to the number 46.
Yeah, this is where I'm mentioning that
But
we're
the
getting
only
tired
one
of like the
time that
same
the actual
repetitive
number 46
holy
is
wars.
used
You know, it's just
in your Bible as a number is
could
in the book
possibly
of
be creating a new
Yohana, or
religion.
John, specifically
know.
John chapter 2, where it states this.
Look at this.
What they exclaimed? It has taken, these are the rabbis, these are the priests of the temple. What they exclaimed? It has taken us 46 years to build this temple. Isn't that interesting that the only one passage specifying that exact amount of time, 46 or 46 years,
46
is how
years,
long it
46
took to build
days
that
to build the
second temple that Cyrus was instrumental in putting
being given
in Jerusalem, Israel. And you, they're talking to Jesus here, and you say that you can rebuild it in 3 days. Now, what Jesus was referring to, so they were talking about the physical temple. It had taken them 46 years to build. What Jesus was talking about, he was referring to his body as a temple, which is fascinating because a human being has, well, they have 46. We all have 46 chromosomes in our cells, 23 pairs. 46 chromosomes make up a human being. They're chromosomes. Genetics coming to play in these passages is also a tad bit fascinating, as well. One of your end time books, or one of your end time chapters of the Bible, would of course be Matthew 24, where it says, "So as in the days of Noah, so also shall it be in the day of the coming of the Son of Man." Now, what were they doing in the days of Noah? Well, they were messing with genetics. They were trying to intermingle mankind's genetics with the genetics of other spooky supernatural things, but also with the genetics of beasts of the field. Since we've been looking at the book of Isaiah, well, it's in Isaiah 44, the very tail end of Isaiah 44, where King Cyrus of ancient Persia comes in and takes over the heart of Babylon. That's the first place he's found in the text, the end of 44, making entrance to Babylon. So in Isaiah 45, here's King Cyrus right here. And by the way, I'm missing a bobblehead up here, am I? So in Isaiah 45, when Cyrus actually comes in to make entrance to Babylon, and he is then over Babylon. Well, in Isaiah 46, I better put my Trump character down a second, because we don't find a Cyrus character in Isaiah 46. No, instead, let me read what we find. And Bel, or that
Trumpers
would be
out there, don't get
Baal.
offended.
What does Baal
Don't
do
get
in
butthurt.
46? Beginning in verse 1. He boweth down.
That
Baal
dude completely
boweth
messed up.
down. Nebo, this is another god like Baal, another idol like Baal or Baal, stoopeth. Their idols were set upon the beast. This is stated 2 times in this passage. It brings up the word beast in verse 1. And upon the cattle, they are a burden to the weary beasts. Cattle could also be translated as beasts, making 3 beasts in that first passage of Isaiah 46. The word beast, or haya, or up here, haya, the C is generally silent in Hebrew, generally, not always, which would have the gematria of 46, meaning beast. Well, chaya, connecting also with, because you'd have the vav in the middle, Shiva or Shiva in the feminine, like the mother goddess, or perhaps also where you get the derivative of Gaia or Mother Earth, the mother goddess. The feminine is what this would be in, derived down here to the word in Hebrew being used as beast. Beast doesn't necessarily have to be a mark of the beast, like 46 would have 4 and then 6, 6, 6, 6, right? 4 6s. But beast has, particularly in Isaiah 46, it's referring to literal beasts. A beast could be just a descriptive word for a sports car. You could say, man, that car is one bad beast, you could state. Beast, or you could say, that man over there, he's pulling a lot of weight.
Makes sense.
He's like a beast. Well, specifically in these passages, the beginning of 46 of Isaiah, 45 was where Cyrus made entrance into Babylon. And what happens next in Babylon is Babylon is chastised, not the beasts of Babylon. 46, all that's being stated here with gematria are things that names and naming conventions, like the word beast, that tend to be elevated or highlighted in that time period surrounding the number 46. That's all that's being stated with the gematria. But this word beast we're finding specifically 2 to 3 times in that first passage of Isaiah 46, that the beasts of Babylon, 1, 2, 3, the beasts of Babylon, they themselves, the great beasts of Babylon, are tired of pulling and carrying the weight of the idols or the claimed gods or corrupt systems of Babylon itself. For Baal boweth down, Nebo stoopeth, and their idols were upon what? Were sitting on the backs of the beasts. It was the worker beasts of Babylon carrying the weight of the claimed gods and their corrupt political systems. And upon the cattle, they were a burden to the beast, the powerhouse, even the muscle car of Babylon had become a weary beast because of all of the burden put on its back by the corruption of Babylon, its gods and its idols. Verse 2, Isaiah 46, they, who's they? The gods of Bel or Baal. Look how the iron came up behind me. They stoop, the gods of Bel or Baal. They bowed down together, for they could not deliver the burden. But they themselves, Bel and Baal, have gone into, let me move my Andrew Jackson, who won many battles, are gone into captivity. So in Isaiah 44, the ending verses is where they slip into Babylon. This would be King Cyrus. In 45, the doors of Babylon are broken open by King Cyrus. That would be a summary of 45. Then in 46, it doesn't talk at all about King Cyrus. It only talks about the enemies of God, those who worship Baal, and that the idols of Baal are falling, and they've caused too much burden on the backs of the beasts.
All it takes is just
it
a
is
person
larger than just the workhorse beasts or the
clear
common
messages
citizens of
and
Babylon.
put them all to
In
shame.
Isaiah 46 and verse
Just
10,
saying.
10 is the yod. The yod represents,
messages
it's
through
almost like the
divine
Spirit of God, a
intervention
little thought, a little yod,
and
just dangling between the gateway
against
to
snake
reach in
people
from
who
heaven
are
to earth.
maybe
It's also a
outnumber this
universal whole
person,
number. There were
and
10
that one person
commandments.
has
Number
proven
10
themselves
states
over and
this,
over and over and
Isaiah
over and over and over
46,
again.
I am
I mean,
God, declaring the
the
end
truth is in the legwork.
from the
You know what I mean?
beginning. That's one
feel
of
me?
this book's authentication methods. The Bible is roughly 70% prophecy. It's telling you
Words
the
of Stanley.
future in advance.
Stanley,
It's commonly
Hope he's
argued
good,
that a
man.
third of the Bible is prophecy,
Gotta
another
reach
third is
30.
poetry, and then another third is history. And there's truth to that, but I would argue a little differently that even when you're looking at the straight up prophecy parts, you're obviously
Okay, here we
looking
go,
at
man.
hardcore prophecy.
gonna get our
The
feet
Lord
wet.
is authenticating the book by telling you the end from the beginning.
I mean, I
In
read
the
Revelations.
poetry sections, let's take for example the book of Psalms. Those Psalms, many of them, those are written by King David. Many of those are far more prophetic, or equally as prophetic as the
David, there we
prophecy
go.
itself, just flowing out of David while he was singing his Psalms. And then if you take, for example, the history parts, well, a great deal of prophecy is actually pattern, like what we're showing in this particular video, that what happened in the past, the way God did it in the past, gives us a
man.
real big clue to how he's going to do it in the future.
What?
So you can actually make the
What did I
case
say?
not only is it
What did I say?
70% or better prophecy, but the entire book is actually prophecy in some form or another. In fact, what the Hebrews believe when they're studying the Torah is that not only will the Lord come, I often look at the letters one by one, what each letter means, and each letter will have multiplicity of meanings within just its meaning. They not only believe that when the Mashiach, or when the Messiah, when the Lord
symbolism.
comes and returns, that he will
There's a
interpret
reason
the
why
letters letter
all
by
of this
letter,
exists,
but even the
because there is,
spaces between those letters. I am God, declaring the end from the beginning,
There's
and from
connections to
ancient
everything.
times the things that are not yet done. My counsel shall stand, and I will do all of my pleasure. How about we come to verse 13? That's a chaos number. The symbol behind me is called the Zion. That would be the ancient form of it. Verse 13, I, the God of the heavens and earth, will bring near my righteousness. I will make your crooked path straight. This is during the time period of 46,
That is
or
perfect.
in Isaiah 46. It shall not be far off. My righteousness shall not be far off, and my salvation shall not tarry. And I will place salvation in where? In Zion, for Israel, my glory. That's 46. 46 represents an empty vessel, a confusing, a chaotic time is what it represents, having a numerical value in gematria that would tie in to beasts. Isaiah 46 tells us that these have become weary beasts, bringing one to perhaps ask, what then would we find if we moved over to the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, with a great big number 7 on it? It begins a little like this in Isaiah 47. Go down, sit in the dust, virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground without a throne. Your nakedness will be exposed and your shame uncovered. This is chastisement towards the systems of Babylon and those who were wicked within those systems. The Lord is beginning a time of removal. Now the wickedness is going to scoot to the side. In Kim Clement's prophecies, there's a time of a cleaning of house, which is exactly what you're finding in 47. Literally, the house is cleaned from Babylon. The wickedness is cleaned out. The swamp is drained, if you will, in Isaiah 47. Your nakedness will be exposed and your shame uncovered. I will take vengeance. Our Redeemer, the Lord is his name. He is the Holy One of Israel. Now, in 46,
be good, fam. Be good.
Cyrus, who took over in 45, who came in at the end of 44,
oh man,
took over in 45, is conspicuously absent during the time of 46, when the Babylonian gods are dealt with, specifically Baal or Baal. Bel. Now in 47, vengeance is being taken on those gods. In 47, the house is being swept. But when I think of 47, I don't just think of Isaiah. Allow me to take you over to, well, the place that I think about first. Allow me to take you over to the book of Genesis. Now, 47 in Genesis is still within a wicked empire. That empire is Egypt. Egypt's one of its core symbols is the Ayin Ra, or the evil eye. But you have a man within Egypt, Joseph, who is listening to the God of heaven above, the creator of the heavens and earth, and advising the king, Joseph. Same as when you had in Isaiah, leading to Daniel. Daniel was looking at the scrolls and scriptures of Isaiah. That's how he knew that Cyrus, who was a righteous king, would come into and take over Babylon, and Babylon would change hands. Cyrus was a secular king, but he came to know the Lord through meeting Daniel. And for that time period, Babylon was a quasi-righteous empire. It prospered under Nebuchadnezzar, who listened to Daniel, and under Cyrus, who listened to Daniel. Now, following 45, where Cyrus would make entrance to Babylon, 46, where the gods of Baal or Baal are expelled for a time, but we go right past our empty placeholder to a 4 and a 7. Well, the first thing that jumps out loud and clear about 47 amongst a list of things with that 7 right there. But in Genesis 47 is where Joseph has favor with the king, with Pharaoh, and says, my father and brothers, this is Genesis 47:1. My father and brethren are come out of the land of Canaan. They've come out of the land of Canaan. The word Canaan is always going to have an affiliation with Baal worship, with serpent worship. You're coming out of what would later have to be conquered, the land of Canaan. The Canaanites were known for Baal worship. Coming out of Canaan and going to where? The land of Goshen, the land of peace. And not only this, it's at the start of this passage, 47, where Joseph is having favor and bringing his family in. By the way, there were 70 of them. That's the Ayin. That number can either be light or dark. It can be the Ayin, the light of God, or it could be the Ayin Ra. And it's also in this passage, Genesis 47, where the prosper of Egypt, another pagan nation just like Babylon, would literally explode.
Right,
this would birth, this passage right here would birth what you would call a
mandatory
golden age
snack
of Egyptian history, is what that would birth right there. Because just like in Babylon under Daniel, this passage is Egypt with Joseph and a king listening to God.
I have
47.
charm pops.
I have pointed this out numerous
water.
times before that
Hydration.
Kim Clement did repeatedly talk about a Joseph time period when everything changed. And that also has kind of a unique play on words, being that you've got number 46, kind of an empty vessel, jumbled placeholder with the name Joe. But more than that, it seems to
scary,
be
man.
redundant in those prophecies. Not only, I mean, one of the largest things that Kim Clement is credited for is prophesying that Donald Trump would become president back at a time that would have been laughable to even suggest. But more than that, that after 2 impeachments, this is specified in Kim's prophecies, that this man, Donald Trump, this cup comes from one of his golf courses. I was able to visit and get this cup, that he would be set aside. Well, if Trump were victorious at becoming the 47th president, I would again note Kim kept talking about this Joseph period, but there's the number 7 on the day of his first inauguration as president of the United States, when he would lay that hand on that Bible and swear in as the 45th president of the United States. He would be exactly 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days old to the day, on that day that he would lay his hand on that Bible.
Oh, man.
This would happen specifically in the year of 2017, or in the Hebrew year of 5777. Is all of that a coincidence?
What?
I don't know. You don't see that every day. The powerful people often were not friendly with Donald Trump. Sometimes they were, sometimes not. But the common man, cab drivers, people that were working on the building projects, very much enjoyed Donald Trump. In fact, employees in New York would compete for jobs with Donald Trump because of how they were treated by Donald Trump. These are very similar to the things that were boasted of King Cyrus on these ancient cylinder seals. Cyrus ultimately was instrumental in the wall, which he demanded, at least initially, that others would pay for. But what they believe over there in Israel, or some sects in Israel, believe that Donald Trump will be instrumental in the third temple, and is comparable to ancient King Cyrus, who took over empires and their financial systems largely without a fight.
Like I mentioned, it's
long and short of that, Israel has the red heifers. They're shipped from Texas. I have an imagination, the Lord of the War stuff that you see going on out there in Israel, or some portion thereof revolves around exactly that. The announcements coming about the, just guessing, making a prediction, surrounding the third temple. Now, the first usage of the number 24 in the Torah or the Bible, it's a beautiful Bible, by the way, that I got in South Africa. South Africa has a constitution very similar to the United States, and also has a history very similar. The people that founded South Africa, as well as the Puritans that founded the United States, both have monuments in their nations that they were fleeing from religious persecution, largely persecution that came from the Catholic Church. Now, in the case of South Africa, this would be the Huguenots that I would be referring to in this instance. So you had the Dutch, then you had the Huguenots, then you'd later have the British. Then it would actually be later, when they needed monies, darkness would creep in. But they founded those nations in those constitutions. They dedicated those lands to the Lord. The monument behind me not only symbolizes the Christian faith, but the founding of South Africa, right here behind me. Okay. The woman that you see on this monument, so in her right hand, she's got a Bible in her right hand. Right hand is always the hand of power. In her left hand, she has chains that are dangling from the left hand, symbolizing the broken chains. The chains of bondage have been broken, and the Bible in her right hand. underneath this woman's image up here, she's got the Bible in one hand and broken chains from the other hand. We see here an image of a ship crossing over into the southern part of Africa. This is the continent of Africa represented right here.
South
the ship
Africa.
has landed. And the ship is
Very
bringing
interesting.
the skills that are going to form what you today call South Africa. And the three colonnades that you see right there, just underneath the cross, the symbol of the Christian faith, the three colonnades represent the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit is
Trinity.
what those three colonnades represent. Right here is a letter, and I'm just going to read you the end of it. These were very devout Christians. I'm just going to walk
Ray
right over here
Smith
real quick.
really went out
The
for an adventure.
persecution of the people that came to this land. And there was no one else here when they arrived here, the Dutch, who founded what's today called South Africa, except for the Khoi. They were fleeing from persecution. Here we have King Henry IV is assassinated on the 14th of May by a fanatical Catholic priest. They were fleeing. They were fleeing from religious persecution. Their most prized possessions, you see in these rooms here. These are
Say
all
something
Bibles.
crazy. Hey,
These are all Bibles that they had and they carried.
he's a
In the
blasphemer.
Catholic Church, it would have been outlawed
they
for
try
you
to
to have
kill
your
you
own,
for
your own
anything.
Bible.
Anything that
These
you
were the
feel
most.
gets,
These were what they would consider
scripture,
sacred texts
or
that they
anything
were
that
able to
king would
have.
say.
And it states right here, you have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is far safer than the land. I'm going to walk you over to this room here, and I'm going to read to you what this letter that was written at that time states. Now I'm just going to take you down. I'm going to take you down the letter here. Here's the ending part of it. That is all, my dear child, that I write to you. I pray our dear Lord that he blesses you in everything. And if you should manage to receive this letter, you can write back and address it to your brother Mose. News of the country. France is at war with Spain. It was proclaimed on the 30th of December to the sound of drums and trumpets, something that has never been done before. And as to our faith, our Christian faith in the Lord, we are no longer told what we can do. We worship and pray together privately and secretly in our homes, but they watch us carefully. They watch us carefully, making certain that there are no large gatherings. Does it sound like your world today? I end, my dear son, by once more sending you blessings and pray that the Lord's mercy will preserve and strengthen you in the place that you have gone. I remain your loving father. So these nations that I'm pointing out to you, both the United States and also in the instance of South Africa and others, but in the instance of both of these two nations, and that's not a trite issue, both of these two nations were founded by Christian people, Christian principles, people that were willing to go even to their death, to lay down their lives on the highest altars of sacrifice for the Lord. And not just the leadership, it is the leadership that's critical, but also the people themselves. In the case of the United States, the Puritans, the Pilgrims, these were people that loved the Lord. They were willing to give everything for the Lord, and they
The opposite of us,
committed these lands,
all worshiping,
the entirety of the land of what we today call the United States, to the Lord. So even if the people, most of the people, years and years later have forgotten those commitments, the Lord has not forgotten. And the political systems have learned to forget those commitments.
And that's
the Lord has not forgotten those commitments. I'd like to draw us back, and that's a critical point.
They won't forget.
Because we're looking at numerics and how they apply. God is the author of mathematics. How the numbers and the years apply mathematically to the lands where God has made
them
commitments.
You know, like, yo,
and this is the year of 2024.
I'm gonna show you true power. and
So
the
we're going to
divine
be looking at
intervention happens.
Matthew 24 in just
these
a
people
few
just-
minutes. But before we get to that,
Man, it's
I'd like
insane.
to take us straight in for a
Okay.
closer look
Oh man, I'm
at
literally
these two numbers right
losing my
here.
mind.
24, 2 and 4. The number 24. The Lord has not forgot those commitments made at the foundations of this United States or that nation or whatever nation that you're watching this in. Matthew
Interesting.
24, which we'll look at in a second. Well, the first usage of 24 in the Torah or your Bible, this would commonly be called the law of first mention, actually coincidentally revolves around the tabernacle or the temple, the tabernacle in the wilderness, what would ultimately lead to the first temple, the second temple, which Cyrus played a role in, and the third temple, that some believe Donald Trump may play a role in. We're on the road to find out. The first usage of the number 24 is at the dedication,
more than his 50 names
of
of
the
fame
altar in
in the
Mishkan.
fame, you know?
That's the tabernacle in the wilderness.
Not that I have anything
That would lead
against
to
the
these,
person, the individual, but what he did is just heinous.
Numbers
I'm sorry.
788. What an interesting number. Number
You
788.
don't tell people that are
And
just
all,
mentally
I'm quoting
deficient,
from the passage,
you
number
know,
788, and all the
that just
oxen
take
for the
things verbatim,
sacrifice of the peace
don't really
offerings were 20
understand
and
what's
4
happening,
bullocks. The
and
number
they
24.
get rallied up.
Now this
Produce-
tabernacle
commit a
that was
crime.
in the wilderness that the Hebrews
Don't do that.
had. Well, in
You're
the book of
supposed to take-
Numbers, where that
as a
same
president,
passage I just
honestly,
read you came out of,
as
they
president,
were given
he should
specific
be held
instructions. In
responsible
fact,
to
God
the highest.
loves numbers. Everything here in this place is a mathematical equation. God
Not-
loves numbers. And he
Energy,
gave very, very
not-
specific
nothing
instructions
personal
for
against
all of the instruments
dude,
of the
the individual,
tabernacle
but he
and the
was
temple and for the camp of Israel that were in the wilderness. And he wanted the tribes to be numbered, and he wanted them in specific locations, and gave specific directions on how the camps would be. For example, you could only camp you could not camp due northeast or northwest. It would be either due north, due south. It could only be so wide, so
There's no
thick.
way you're gonna hide.
And he wanted the camps.
No hiding
so
no more,
example,
guys. No
Benjamin,
more hiding.
108,000, Dan,
Everything's
157,000,
coming to
Judah,
light
186,000, and the other tribes that are in there.
Whether
If you do
you
the
like it or
mathematics
not.
on this, and you look at what the camp would have looked like, the camp of Israel in the wilderness, it makes an enormous cross that they were walking in on the desert floor after they had left Egypt following the Exodus. Our Exodus over at God in the Nutshell is one of the most incredible in the world. I hope that you get a chance to go and look at it. This would be the shape described in your Bible in the book of Numbers of what the Hebrew camp, no number, not even the weight or the measurement of a board on Noah's Ark is trite in those texts. Not one number is given to you without a cause.
Insane.
Now, the shape of a cross in its ancient form, in ancient Hebrew, would be the symbol of the Tav. The Tav means sign or mark. That's what it means. It's also the number 400. And it is the shape of the Israelite camp that was in the wilderness, at the heart of which, in the very heart of which, would be where the priests, would be where the Levites were, where the very heart, the Spirit of God, would dwell. So speaking of temples and tabernacles in the wilderness, let me take you over to the New Testament, to the book of Matthew. Many people say that we're living in the end times. Perhaps they're right. We're close. But Matthew 24 would certainly be attributed as a heavy end times chapter of the New Testament and also the book of Matthew. Matthew 24, it begins and it reads this, beginning in verse 1. And Jesus left the temple, and was walking away when his disciples came up to him and called his attention. Do you see all these things? Jesus asked. Truly, I tell you, not one stone here, not one stone on that temple, that would have been the second temple, not one stone here will be left on another. Every one of them will be torn down and thrown away. He's predicting and prophesying the destruction of the second temple in that verse. And accordingly, Jesus will also predict and prophesy the rise of the third temple. Verse 3, and as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, that's just right there in the heart of Jerusalem, the disciples came to him privately and said, Tell us, Rabbi, tell us, teacher, when will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And Jesus replied, he says an interesting thing. He says this, verse 4, Jesus answered, see that, watch that, or see that no man deceives you. Now we're going to find that this entire section of text is encapsulated with this concept of deception. So one of the thing that would encapsulate the entire end time of deception, it's going to tell you about a lot of stuff that looks spacey, techy, even kooky and out there, new agey, but in the center of all of that, encapsulating all of it, is a concept of deception. Do you feel like you're in hours of history that are encapsulated by deception? See that no man deceives you. For many will come in my name, in Jesus' name, claiming that I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. But see to it that your hearts are not troubled. For such things must come to pass. Such things must come, and then they must pass.
Not even at work.
But the end is not yet. The end is not yet. So these
people
hours
didn't like
that
me at
look
work,
like what are just described up here, deception and wars and rumors of wars and all of it. But the end is not yet. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various and diverse places.
How legit
all
is
these
the cover story?
are the beginning of sorrows, or the beginning of birth pains. The way that birth pains work is they begin and then they back off, and then they come in stronger and then they back off. And in Kim's prophecies, he was stating, you're not quite at the end yet. You're not quite at the parts that will be the heavy parts you would need. There are different opinions on this end times temple, but the text tells you that it's coming. And the people are telling you, the people that are building it are telling you that it's coming. I think you're going to have announcements next year about it. That's my prediction. But you have to have that temple there for a while before the events that are predicted in these very passages can take place. This abomination of desolation spoken of in the book of Daniel, you will need that temple there for an amount of time. What Kim was prophesying is the Lord of the corruption, that at the end of all of this, hands that were in the coffers of deception would be pulled out for a while. That you would have time to train your children well, that eyes were going to awaken, and that in that time, it's not just the devil that gets what he wants in the end times. The way my mother would always describe this is it's not just the devil that gets to have his heyday for a brief time, and it's not even a heyday. All of these people that are doing things for demons or on behalf of demons,
that do the bad things.
If those demons will ask you to lie to others, they're not lying to you as well.
Self-indulging.
The text doesn't end well for any of those people.
Making themselves feel good for no apparent reason.
Under which that you can raise your sons and your daughters, and that you can have some joy and prep for what Kim was stating and what the passages are stating. Birth pains are bad, and then they back off, and then they're even worse before the baby is born. What Kim was stating and what these texts are stating is that the evil would go underneath the rug for a short time, that there'd be all these big exposures, an exposure of enormous evil that would be all the way like the pyramid eye at the top. And that these things would go undercover for a while, but when they came back, you better be ready for them. That's what he was describing. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various and diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. These parts get a little rough. Matthew 24, beginning in verse 9. By the way, I think it was Nikola Tesla that stated that you could understand the entire universe if you understood the numbers 3, 6, and 9. Now, just for the fact checkers, I wasn't actually there when Tesla stated that, and there's some debate about whether or not he quoted that or not, but assuming that he did, 3, 6, and 9, God created all of the numbers in this place. All of the occult stuff is borrowing off of God's time, God's symbols, and God's things. Whether it be the goat or the snake or the numbers 3, 6, or 9, all of which are heavily used in the occult. But the Lord uses 3. The number 6 is the number of man. So when you do a 666 and it says you can't buy or sell, well, this has a technological edge that goes all the way back to the days of your inventors. You can use a fire to burn people, or you can use a fire to warm a house and cook food. Tesla was an inventor. 3, 6, and 9. 6 is the number of man. It would make sense that you have a lot of 3s, 6s, and 9s in this place. 6 is the number of man. Man was taken out of the earth. So there's a connection between what happens to the state of the man becomes wicked, and the state of the ground, the state of the earth that he was come from, and vice versa. And vice versa. 6 is the number of man. So if you had a trifecta of 6s, not only are you looking at technological things that you can't buy and sell without this mark that has 666, or the number of the beast on it. Well, doctrines of men and doctrines of devils are synonymous. 666, that would be like a trifecta of doctrines of men or doctrines of devils. Take your pick. Me, selfish attitude is
There
what
you
that
go.
would be.
There you go. I
Coming
said
up
it's
here
self-indulgent.
to verse 9,
Yes.
Genesis chapter 1. God
Oh,
specifically
man.
says, and God said. It was with words that these worlds were formed. He
Always
specifically
thinking.
says, and God said, 9 times, depending on how you count them, but most would agree it's 9. Some will say 10, others will say it's 6 days, but it's 9 specific times, and God said. But the occult loves that number as well. It's a 6 upside down. The serpent loves that number. It's one of the few he can even use, because they're all man-based. When mankind, the only things that he can use, the stuff like this can use, little spookies from the other side, same people that run flying saucers are the same people that talk through Ouija boards are the same people that run
There you
UFOs.
go. What did I
show you
say? Oh,
but this little guy right here coming through with his apple at the very beginning, the only thing he's got control of or can have authority or control with are the things that mankind, the 6s and the 9s, gave authority for him to do. Verse 9, then you'll be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you'll be hated by all nations because of me. And at that time many will turn from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will arrive and deceive many. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm and endures to the end shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom of God will be preached to the whole world, and to all nations, and then the end shall come. There's a global awakening, a great harvest. So there shall be tribulation, and so it shall be, and my people shall join me. But before that time, there is a global awakening. Passage 15. So when you see standing in the holy place, now the holy place would be the Holy of Holies, in the heart of the temple. So to fulfill this text right here, you need that temple back for the abomination of desolation to occur within the heart of that temple. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel, know and understand. Let those that are in Judea flee to the mountains. For then there will be great distress, unequaled, unparalleled, from the beginning of the world, and never to be equaled again. Now I'd like to take you back up here to, he's referring to the prophet Daniel and the abomination of desolation. There's the cross, or the ancient symbol of the Tav that came up behind me. Let's go over to
making a mockery of
Daniel, specifically Daniel 9:25. I'm going to move these guys here out of the way so we can read this, and you can see
What are
it
they,
down there on the bottom and
homosexuals?
see what I'm stating here.
gay dudes.
Daniel 9:25.
You know?
I know it by
They're
heart.
like,
I've
oh,
gone through this
Jesus,
passage
Jesus,
quite
all
a few
this,
times.
deep
Know and
pride.
understand this
But
from the
what are
time
they really
that the
doing?
word
Making
goes
a
forth
mockery of
to restore and
the
rebuild
crucifixion.
Jerusalem.
I've seen it.
This
I've
would
seen
be
their
the decree
parades.
of Longimanus, Xerxes Longimanus, the decree to rebuild
What about
Jerusalem,
that
and lots
rapper
of
dude?
decrees. That's the
You know what I mean?
specific one to
Nas or
rebuild
whatever his
Jerusalem.
name, Lil
That decree, and we
Nas,
have it
or I
recorded
don't
in
even know him.
history, was on March
His
14th,
new video
445
making
BC. That
a
never would have happened without King Cyrus, who's on
mockery
this
of
coin, and whose
Jesus
cylinder
Christ
seal I'm holding a replica of in my hand, to restore
making
and
fun of
rebuild Jerusalem, leading
Christianity
to that
because
second temple that Jesus would ride the donkey during the triumphant entry to. Daniel 9:25, it shall be 69 weeks
I
of
think that's all the
years. Now,
influence.
those weeks of
Mental
years, 69 times
deficiencies,
7 times 360, working on the ancient calendar, this is going to come
whatever
up
they're
to be
around.
17,880 days to the day. Now, if we do the math from that decree, March 14th to 445 BC, and we go all the way forward, 17,880 days to the money, we come to the date of April 6th, 32 AD, the very day that Jesus rode the donkey through the front gate of Jerusalem. And he said, "O Jerusalem, O Jerusalem." This was the only day. There are many times in your Bible where the people would cry out because of all the miracles. They would cry out to declare Jesus as their king. But it would say he would vanish into the crowd or he would disappear. They couldn't find him anymore. All except for one specific day that he allowed them to declare him out as king. And that was the day that he rode that donkey to the front gate of Jerusalem. And that's the very day that Daniel had given the math for, roughly 500 years in advance. Jesus' triumphal entry. And as Jesus rode that donkey through the front gate of Jerusalem, and they were throwing their palm leaves down. That's where you get Palm Sunday.
Palm Sunday.
He was actually crying. He was weeping.
Mm-hmm.
O Jerusalem, O Jerusalem, you who stone the prophets. Did you not know? How did you not know that this was your day? How I would have longed to gather you as a hen would under her wings, but ye would not. And an edict of blindness was put on Israel. But when Jesus made it up to them, the very rabbis at the heart, the religious leaders, at the very heart of that temple that was all pointing towards Jesus, and they probably even had their own scrolls open to the book of Daniel, I wouldn't be shocked. But when Jesus made it up to them, the very rabbis at the heart, the religious leaders, at the very heart of that temple that was all pointing towards Jesus, and they probably even had their own scrolls open to the book of Daniel, I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh man!
If they did,
imagine
they came
that.
up to Jesus and they said, you have to
happening.
silence these people that are crying out, your king, this is heresy. And Jesus said to them, he said, if I were to silence these people, indeed I tell you, even the rocks of this place
I don't know,
would
most
cry
people
out.
have been,
Matthew
watching their
24,
mouths,
verse 36.
you know.
There's the vav behind me. That's a 6 in Hebrew. 3-6, like 666. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. 37. This is the famous one. For as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be also the time of the coming of the Son of Man. In the days of Noah, wickedness was rampant in the earth. Every thought of man's heart was only evil all of the time. And they were trying to call in and beckon in the spirits, the angels, the demons, the Nephilim, the Nakash, the spirit of the Nakash, black magic, to do sexual things, to have their own offspring in any way they can. To, as we read into the book of Enoch, they were twisting creation itself into their own design, with other things that came in to help them. They were doing genetic tinkering with things. This is a portion of the reason that God sent the flood. So it was in the days of Noah, so also shall it be in the day of the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, the people were eating and drinking and marrying
That's
and
why they
giving
say,
in
you know,
marriage. They had no
you should
clue.
love
Up until the
your
very
body for
day
what
that
it
Noah
is.
entered the ark
Love
and
your
closed the door. There were 8 of them.
love your
8 is the number
skin,
of
love
new beginnings.
yourself
Narrow is the gate,
for
and
who you
few
are.
are those who find it, which leads to
Don't
eternal
try
life. There
to
were 8 people that
you
got on
know,
that boat. Noah entered the ark,
alter yourself.
and they, the people of that time, of
You
Noah's
know,
time, knew nothing
steroids,
about what would happen
was it plastic
until the flood
surgery? You
came,
know,
and it took them all away. This
it
is also
depending, you
how
know,
it
the
shall be
severity, how
at
far
the
you go
coming
along with
of the
it.
Son
You
of
know,
Man.
there's some
All of
individuals
your
out there
symbols
just
here
completely
point towards the Lord.
they
The very
regret
heart of that Holy
changing
of
so
Holies,
much,
the
you know,
priest would
because
wear, the
they at
high
the end they
priest
don't
would
look like
wear
themselves anymore. They look like
the
something
ephod.
that's
Ephod has
fabricated.
12 crystals, 12
This is
minerals
what it
put in it,
means.
one representing each of the tribes of Israel. All of these
Insane.
things give
Oh
off
man,
frequencies. That's something I want to talk about at another time, but this was carried over the heart.
insane,
The 12
Mr.
tribes.
Mr. Smith, man.
24 would be a double portion of 12. So let's take a walk from the Old Testament through the New Testament all the way to Revelation, specifically
Oh
Revelation
no, here we
4.
go.
Revelation was written
Revelations.
by Johanna or John. He was the only one of the disciples that
Now we're
wrote a
gonna get
gospel
into
that was there present
the
at the crucifixion of
meat of
Jesus
things.
Christ. Revelation reads very similar. There are really 3 apocalyptic books in my view. Well, in the pre-flood world, it would be Enoch. In the Old Testament, it would be the book of Daniel, and in the New Testament, it would be the book of Revelation, written by Johanna or John. After this I looked. So this is in 4, Revelation 4. After this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. Now I would ask you to go and look at my other video, End Times, if you want to know what happens before this, because in chapter 2 and 3 of the book of Revelation, you have 7 churches. Each church has, you couldn't count up the number 7s in the book of Revelation. It's a book of completion. And immediately following that, this is what happens. I saw a door standing open in heaven, and a voice I had heard speaking to me like a trumpet. Interesting language here. This man being named Donald Trump, you get the concept or the term trump card from this man. And God loves all of these little plays on words. Here's my Andrew Jackson right here. Come up here and I will show you what must take place after this. And
I'm laughing
at once I was in spirit. I was taken up in spirit. And there before me
if
was
this
a
is
throne in
written
heaven
so many
with someone
years
sitting
back,
upon it.
I'm talking we're talking
And the one who
200,
sat there
300
had the appearance of
years
jasper
back,
and ruby and a rainbow. They've stolen the rainbow
even more.
and used it. How many things here
What are we?
are taken
2020
and made upside down?
Yeah,
Made upside down.
2024 BC or
A
AD.
rainbow
I'm
that
sorry.
shone like an emerald encircled the throne,
2024
and
AD,
surrounding the
fam.
throne were the
That's AD.
24
We don't say
elders.
AD
Who are
anymore.
those? What are
Why?
those?
Because people are
24
scared of it.
elders surrounding
And
the
that's
throne, sitting
after
on
the death
24
of Christ.
thrones, and seated on them were 24 elders,
After
and they
that,
were dressed in
and
white and had crowns of gold
you know,
on their
it's
head.
BC, before Christ.
Verse 9,
So
and I want
there's
to
a
talk
reason
about
why
this
this
a
is
little bit. Whenever the living
timeline.
creatures give glory,
This is the reason why the
God made
is based on
worlds within
the
worlds that
death
are teeming with
and
life, and he makes that
of Jesus
abundantly
Christ.
clear. His focus in these biblical texts is on this place that we're in, but there's all sorts of things, including little spooky things, that he's specifically telling you. Not only is he telling you they exist, but he's telling you there's a reason he's telling you not to communicate with these things. They're older than you, they're wiser than you, and they're out to trick you and take everything from you. Jesus talked more about hell than he did about heaven. And the reason he did that is because he doesn't want you to go there. It was never made for you. The place that's talked about here, that's also teeming with living things beyond imagination, was made
That is
for
why
you.
I treat people
You weren't made
with
to
the
be
best
with
of
these things.
intentions. Unless they start fucking up
And whenever the
and
living
they do the
creatures
worst
give glory,
things,
honor, and
you know what I
thanks to
mean?
him who
I'm gonna
sits on
kick
the
back.
throne and lives forever and ever,
I'm
the
gonna,
24 elders
you know,
fall down before him,
I stick up for
before he who
myself.
sits on the throne, and worship him who lives forever and ever, and they lay their crowns before him.
But
And they
I'm
say,
gonna leave
you
it
are
all
so
in the
worthy.
hands of the
The one that
Almighty.
was on that
Just
cross,
saying, just
the one
saying.
that was on that cross to purchase their
In the
right to be
end,
there. You are
in the
so
end, they
worthy,
will find
our
out.
Lord and God, to receive glory and honor and power. I tell you to have no fear of the spooky things and the terrors that come by night, and I'm sure there's more
Thank you,
talk
Mr.
about those
Smith.
coming. And the famines and the weather issues and all of these other things that were told to you even from the beginning of the book. And the evil people, they've been with you since all the way back to the very beginning, all the way back to that serpent in the
There
garden.
you
And we're
go.
going to cover alien stuff. I've got an incredible trip through Roswell. I wanted to do that properly, and I think it's the right hours for it. And all the way back to the days of Nimrod, that's what he was beckoning. He was shaking his fist at God. Your bad guys then. Well, we're going to walk through it. This is a
Are
summary of Kim
still
Clement's assessment
around,
of whatever
but
year,
in different
assuming that's this year. We're going to find out. And I think it
different vessels,
probably
different
is. That you're going to have
entities,
extreme weather issues. You're
different
going to have a volcano.
faces,
You're going to have a major earthquake in the United States. But that these
same
things were to
intentions.
shake you. People were going to say, this nation has never been shaken like this before. But that the shaking would be good for America. Shaking would be good for America. That there would be a new terror group. There will be blackouts. There'll even be some strange hours. I'm guessing that might even be their alien stuff, but I don't know. We're going to find out. Coming through the summer, leading into the fall, that's when it's going to get
Government
intense. All of it's going to get really intense.
Congress finding out about
Hypnotic
UFOs.
November.
That was
And
pretty
oh,
interesting.
December,
Debunking
where
UFOs,
I
letting
show
them know,
you
hey
who
man,
I
this is a
have chosen
letting
to
us know
pray
they
for and
exist.
guide this nation. I'm Trey Smith of God in a Nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this
Absolutely, man.
presentation of the
Insane.
2024 prediction. Here's the very long and short of it, that it is going to look really, 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 really dark for a minute, like all hope is lost. Probably, I'm guessing. God always does things this way. That's certainly what he did. These are Exodus moments that you have on the horizon ahead. And I believe the Lord set me in to do these films. This is a copy of
He's
my book,
gone
Exodus.
through a whole
And
adventure.
if you're able to go get one, go get one. If you're able to come over and watch some of our films, right now I'm doing one on frequencies, I'm doing one on the aliens, and I'm doing a couple of surprise ones and finishing up something. Just come over and watch what we have. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Wow.
I thank you for watching this film.
Let's go.
The last prediction I have for 2024 is that it would be my personal belief and prayer that this will be the year that the waters are going to part, that the pharaohs are going to release they're not going to have a choice but to release their grip, that God himself is going to part those waters when all hope looks lost at the moments that matter most. That's my prediction. We'll see how much of it is correct for the year of 2024. It's a year of intensity, but also a year that unity is meant to happen, I believe, and a year of the eyes opening in a way like never before. Hard truths. I'm Trey Smith of God in a Nutshell. God bless every last one of you and your families on the other side of the screen.
Amazing, fam. Wow, what a freaking video. Incredible. I think this was one of the if not top video he's made in regards to philosophy and Catholicism, you know, the study of like religion and he just went on a whole adventure and just to correlate what is happening right now. Uh like I mentioned, there's people out there that just that have the gift, you know, that are able to see through things. They're able to understand uh hidden knowledge. Um and he's one of them. He's one of the special persons that is able to understand and pretty much share that information, which to me it's a lot more intense than to just keep it in. You know what I mean? If you're one of them, uh, and you understand something, hey man, the best thing to do is try to write it down, try to share it, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. You'll run into people that are having the same situations, same scenarios, and lo and behold, man, lo and behold, my scenario. And here's where I let me get some jams on here, man. Bring this up. Uh, but yeah, there's some individuals out there that are having the same scenarios, same stuff happening to them, and it's interesting. It's interesting that I was able to find this individual that also is experiencing the same thing, and I think we're not alone out here. It's just we're just very few. We're very few people, and I don't know if this thing's detect me here, but yeah, we're very few individuals out in the world that are being used in a special manner, and we all have a message, and the message is all very, very clear, very vivid, and don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by you know con artists. Don't be fooled by smooth talkers. Don't be fooled by individuals that just want to take advantage of what of who you are and what you do. So I'm Thug, guys. I'm Thug. My name is Joey. I'm Jose. uh I'm what, 36 years old. 36 years old, still underground streamer with a lot of insight. And if you stick around, fam, you stick around with me, you too will be laced up with everything that I know. And my thing is just if I have something to share, I will share it. I've got nothing to hide. So uh without any further ado, fam, I appreciate everybody that might just been lurking,
I think it's
viewing the
time.
show,
Just think. You need to
and just want to say
relax.
thank you all for being here, man. I appreciate you all. Yes, yes, thank you so much, fam. Thank you all. You guys are freaking amazing. As for me, fam, I am out of here. I'm out of here. Thank you all. Thank you so much for enjoying the show. Hit that like, hit that follow, hit that share. I appreciate it. Till next time, fam. Y'all take care. Maybe we'll watch some anime. Uh, and play some more video games here, huh? Yeah. Heck yeah. Y'all take care, fam. See ya. See ya when I'll see ya. Peace.